Hey everybody, today we're going to be looking at the 2023 housing report for Colorado Springs by PPAR, which is the Pikes Peak Association of Realtors. So they just came out with this report, so it covers January of this year, and you get some comparisons to last year. So let's take a look. So here we have the RSC, which is the Realtor Services Corporation, and that's just a subsidiary of PPAR. So they run and maintain the multiple listing service that all the real estate agents post their listings to. So this is all the data that was just released, and it covers January of 2023 this year. So right now we're looking at an active sold listing analysis. This is an active listings analysis, and this information is up to the beginning of February. So we don't quite have February's numbers. We're still in the middle of February right now. So this chart is going to tell you how many sales there were in El Paso County between these different price ranges here. So first one is from 0 to just under 200,000, from 200,000 to 300,000. Goes in increments of 100,000. So you can see what how many sales there were just for the month of January per price range. Just underneath that, you can see the percentage of these properties with a price reduction. So in the 2 to 300,000 range, you'll see 47.8% of these properties had a price reduction. In the 3 to 400,000 category, 36.6% had a price reduction, with an average reduction percentage just underneath there. So again, for that 2 to 300,000, you had an average reduction percentage of 3.2%. In the 3 to 400,000 range, you had an average reduction rate of 3%. In the $400,000 to $500,000 range, you had a 35% reduction percentage, and then an average reduction percentage of 2.4%. So 35% of properties took a reduction with an average reduction percentage of 2.4%. And that falls in line with the numbers that I've been tracking through PPAR. I believe it's 96.6% is the list to sale price for Colorado Springs in general. So properties are selling for 96.6% of their list price. So no longer are properties selling above asking price. Some of them are, but on average, they are selling a little bit below. Teller County, you can see just underneath El Paso County, far fewer sales in Teller County in comparison. There's far less that's being built up there as far as new construction, and existing homes are a bit harder to come by. There's not as many people selling up there, and so with that, there is still some price reduction happening in Teller County, similarly to El Paso County. Things are taking longer to sell in general, all over. Below, you'll see a total for all counties, and underneath that, we've got a sold listing analysis for January of 2023. And for December of 2022. And so what this will tell you is how many total property sales we had for each of these price ranges. And you can look at January versus the month before in December and compare to see how the sales are tracking. And so it looks to be fairly consistent in January and December. There's still a lower number of sales. Sales are still happening. It's just not quite as intense as it was last summer and the past several years. If you look at this chart in full, you can see, trying to zoom out. Oh, there we go. You can compare January of 2023 to January of 2022 and see how is it tracking there. Did we have more sales? And indeed, we did have some more sales, particularly in the $400,000 to $500,000 range last January 2022. You can see Teller County had a few more sales as well then too, and so with the totals, there's clearly a downtick in sales from January 2022 to January 2023. This is not a surprise. We have all seen this in the market, that there is a downward shift in the market. The market has not died. There is still a housing market here. Homes are still selling, but because they're more expensive now, even if interest rates come back down or come down further again, it's not going to be enough to bring back all of the buyers who used to be able to qualify. So the buyers who are available now are typically going to have more money. There's going to be fewer of them. So we're seeing that playing out in the market here now, where you see a reduction in sales, not by a lot, but by some. Here we can see a visual of what that looks like. We're going from January of 2022 all the way to January of 2023. And this is the homes for sale, single family and patio homes specifically. So condos and townhomes are not included in this particular graph. This is just the homes for sale. This is active listings in total. This is not necessarily how many homes sold, but this shows you what we had for sale in January of 2022. We had 544 listings compared to just last month, January of 2023, we had triple that, 1,639 listings. And you can see in this graph, it shoots up over the summer, May, June 2022 is when it goes up. We have a crazy, very busy summer of 2022. And even as it has died down for the winter, the number of listings that we still have is far more than what we had last winter. This graph will show you per each January from 2019 to 2023 how many listings we had. How many listings in Colorado Springs? Well, I'm sorry, for all of the Pikes Peak region. So Colorado Springs and the surrounding area, PPAR covers all of that. So for this entire MLS, how many listings did we have for each of these Januaries, just as a comparison? So you can see in 2019 we had 1,250 listings. 2020 we had 1,333 listings. 2021 1,112. 2022 1,180. 2023 965. It hasn't been a huge difference, but we have fewer listings now than we a bit fewer than we have had for the past several years. So that seems like it kind of contradicts the last graph that we looked at, but if we come back up here, this is total homes for sale, and this one is the new listings. So how many new listings came up for each of these Januaries versus how many total listings do we have? So although we had 965 total new listings in January of 2023, we still have 1,639 listings in total for January. So there's still residual and leftover listings from December and previous months of homes that are still on the market that make up for this total that you'll see in this graph. This graph is total under contracts in January, the total number of listings in the Pikes Peak MLS that are under contract / pending sale. So you'll see more under contracts in the past several years from 2019 on, and then 2023 we do dip a bit, and it dips even further even than what we had in 2019. Here you'll see the average days on market, and we're tracking from January 2022 to January 2023, and you'll see January 2022 all the way through summertime. We're at about 10-15 days on market on average, and that starts to climb during the summertime as we get more listings, and we finally get up to 50 days on market on average here. We've climbed that far, that high. We're almost at 2 months for how long it takes before a property does go under contract. This graph will show you the total year-to-date sales for each January. So this is just for the month of January for the years of 2019 through 2023. So in 2019, we had 902 total sales that January. 2020, we had 913 sales. 2021, 971. 2022, 1,058. 2023, 739. This is the average and median sales prices, again, from January 2022 to 2023. And you'll see how the average is in the blue line, the median is in the red line. You'll see the sales prices start to climb in the summer months, and we've started to see a downward trend from summertime through now, and it seems like we might be starting to hit an upward trend in prices again as of January. I think it's still too early to tell, but it does look suspiciously like prices might be back on the upward trend. I'm not going to say anything further on that. It's just speculation at this point. This is the number of residential home sales from January 2021 to January 2023. So there's a couple of years of data in here. Single family homes are in the light white blue. Condos and townhomes are in the red underneath. So this is just the number of sales for each month for the past couple of years, and you'll see the condos and townhomes are pretty regular. In the past couple of months, we're starting to see that downward trend. Same with the single family homes. The single family homes, you are seeing more of the seasonal trend in sales, where in the winter months you have that lower number in the 900s and 1000s, and that starts to shoot up into the 1800s per month during the summertime. So we see that in 2021 and 2022, and then that comes back down into wintertime now. And this is RSC's monthly listing activity for January 2023. So we are looking at El Paso County, and then there you can see all the other counties here. The data is here for these other counties as well for sales here. Denver's MLS RECO is going to cover a lot of data for a lot of these other counties closer to Denver, so I wouldn't necessarily rely on PPAR's data for complete. It's not going to have complete data in these other counties. El Paso and Teller County, I'm going to put more stock into as far as having the total data to be able to make accurate reads off of. At the top, you'll see El Paso County's total number of active listings, and this is just for January. You can see top dollar volume, percentage of dollar. I'm not as interested in those metrics. The median list price for El Paso County is currently at $529,900. The average list price is $655,100. Median price $470,000. Average new list price is $546,294. BOM stands for back on market, PND is pending, EXP is expired, WTH is withdrawn. So back on the market means it was under contract and buyer fell through or something happened, and so it's back on market looking for another buyer. Pending means it's under contract with a buyer. Expired means they didn't find a buyer and the contract with the listing agent expired and now it's no longer valid or on the market. Withdrawn means the buyer took their property off the market for whatever reason. They didn't like their agent, they wanted to do some work on the property before they relisted it, whatever the case is. So if you want to pause this, you're welcome to look at data specific to any of these counties. Here you'll see specifically info for condos and townhomes and how many sales that we had for January of 2023. There were 213 condo and townhome sales in El Paso County. I don't remember what all of these were. So the median list price for condos and townhomes in El Paso County was just under $400,000. The average list price was $442,288. The median price, $369,500. Average price new listing, $378,966. Teller County only had 7 condo/townhome sales. I didn't even know they had condos and townhomes up there. You can see a little bit of info for Denver, but again, we don't primarily cover any of the Denver area in our MLS, or Pueblo. Pueblo has its own MLS. This one's interesting. Vacant land. In El Paso County, there were 316 vacant land sales. You're welcome to pause this data and look at it in particular. I am not as interested in the average or median data for vacant land sales, just because vacant land is so varied. You can have anything from, like a 5,000 square foot lot in city that's never been developed on to, some weirdly shaped 5-acre parcel that you can't do anything with, to 40 acres of land out east, to 48 acres of land out in the mountains. There's so many different things that change the value of the land and the usability of the land as to make the average and median sales prices of vacant land really useless, in my opinion. But you are, again, welcome to pause this data and look at it. There's data for each of the counties here. This is the listing and sales summary for January of 2023. So a lot of those numbers that we've already seen, you can see them again in a different way, but you'll compare like December of 2022 to January of 2023 to January of 2022. So you can get a current month to last month to month to year or a year to year comparison of new listings. You had 659 new listings in December of 2022. In January of 2023, you had 965 listings, and that was a 46.4% gain in new listings. And so that sounds like a big, huge number, but in reality, when you hear the actual numbers, it's not a huge difference. It is definitely a jump up, but it's, knowing the numbers, I think, is more accurate than knowing the percentage. The percentage is cool sounding, but knowing the numbers, I feel, is more accurate. If you're going to compare January of 2023, you had 965 new listings. January of 2022, you had 1,180 new listings. And so that's an 18.2% drop in comparison, from this year to last year. We had 18.2% more new listings in January of 2022. Sales-wise, 851 sales in December 2022, 739 sales in January of 2023. That's a 13.2% gain. I'm sorry, a 13.2% drop. And then in January of 2022, you had 1,058 sales, and that's a 30.2% drop year to year from last year to this year. The average sale price did go up from 490,000 in December of 2022 to 525,000 in December 2023. So that's a 7% gain. It is also a 6.1% gain because January of 2022 home prices were at 495,000. It was very similar, obviously, from December of 2022 to January 2022. And interestingly, again, we've had a little bit of an average gain and a median. Well, I don't know that we even have a median sales price gain, because the median in January 2023 is 445,000, same as it was January of 2022. Interestingly, there's been no change. So the average has risen. The median has not actually had a net overall gain year to year. The total active supply in December of 2022, we had 1,909 total active listings. In January of 2023, we had 1,639. January of 2022, we had 549. So it was far fewer listings last January 2022 than it was last month. Last month we do have more inventory, we do have more available, but again, I would say it has to do with there being fewer buyers available. There are fewer new listings this year compared to last year. Again, an 18.2% decrease in new listings year to year. And I don't know that that has anything to do with the availability of buyers. It has more to do with the availability of sellers, I would say. But there are many people who I'm sure would be interested in selling their properties, but if they're locked into a low interest rate, there's a less incentive for them to sell and buy something at a higher interest rate. If they can make it work with the property they have, they'd be more inclined to do that. Currently, we are at a 2.2 months supply of inventory as of January 2023. Anywhere from 4 to 6 months is what I would call a balanced market between buyers and sellers. It is still, I would say, a seller's market, although it is taking almost 2 months for properties to sell, and there are not very many buyers. It's still what we would call a seller's market. However, the structure of the market is such that buyers do have some negotiation power, as sellers don't necessarily want to be on the market longer than they have to be, not knowing if home prices are going to continue falling or if they will go back on the uprise, but there's no guarantee. So as we have historically for the past 6 or so months, it's been 8 or so months, I should say, been seeing a drop in home prices. That trend may continue, which I feel is more likely, but we may also see prices start to rise back up. On the right-hand side of this graph, you'll see I was looking at the data for all homes. In the gray on the right-hand side, you'll see the data specifically for existing homes as opposed to new construction as well. So we're including all the data here on the left. Underneath that, you'll see data for condos and townhome sales. If you want to pause that and look at that one in particular, you're welcome to do so. This is the data that is cumulative for single family / patio homes as of January 2023, comparing to January of 2022. So again, same data that we just looked at, 965 new listings this January versus 1,180 last January, 739 sales this January versus 1,058 sales last January, average sales price of $525,254 versus last January at $494,954. Condos and townhomes, there were 181 new listings this January versus 205 last January. There were 90 condo / townhome sales this January versus 158 last January. The average sales price for condos and townhomes was $335,963 this January versus $342,524 last January. So that's the info from PPAR on the new sales data as of January 2023 for all of Colorado Springs and the surrounding areas, and again for all the different counties as well. But I focused on El Paso County and Colorado Springs data. Again, I think it's a little too early to tell what's going to happen for the rest of 2023. It does appear that the average sales price and the median sales price, the prices in general, might start going up as demand continues to increase over the summer, as we get into the summer, or it might not. But what it seems to me is that the data shows that it might start being on the uptrend. We won't know for sure until we get February's data, and we're still a couple of weeks until the end of February, and then there'll be likely a couple more weeks before we can see the full data as we get all of these closings in at the end of February after that, and as agents finalize sales data and it gets recorded, then you can look at it. And then we could see, does that trend continue into February? What does that look like? But for now, I think it's a bit too early to tell. But fascinating data nonetheless. Let me know what you think in the comments below. If you like this video, please click the like button. Please hit the subscribe and the bell and all that, and I'll see you in the next one.